So the last board of this match is between Tero Kokkila and Gudmundur Kjartansson. Gudmundur just became a GM. I guess he had already all the norms. I mean, he just became 2500 and then quickly dropped back to 2400. But yeah, he's just like me. He was IM for many years and suddenly became a GM. So maybe I also have hope because he's just 1 year younger than me. So maybe one day, the same thing will happen to me. So yeah, this game started with e4, e6, just French and the classical variation, and we get this funny position. It's quite interesting, and it also has a funny name on leeches. So this is called French defense, classical variation, burn variation, Morozevich line, and this is Morozevich line. This g takes f6, and so black has the bishop pair. He has double pawns, and his king might be a bit weak. But so this offers very dynamic chances for both sides. And once this develops normally, f5 and knight d2. So I'm definitely not impressed with our correspondence GM's opening preparation. It's just seems like he's just playing random moves without any idea. And black just plays c5, and it's completely fine. This is exactly what he wanted. And there's one way to deal with the c5, and that is to play knight c3, and after c5 play d5. And this d5 is deemed so annoying that usually black doesn't allow it. Just to show one funny line I look at. Let's say black tries some kind of e5. Now white can even play queen h6 and e4. White can even castle, sacrifice a knight, and yeah, like there's nothing black can do. Just to show this funny mate, how black can lose very easily if he tries to play for some kind of big center and just ignore the d5 pawn. So yeah, usually c5 doesn't happen because this d5 is too annoying. So a6, and for example something like this might happen. So black tries to control this d5 square with the bishop and also with the annoying pawn push. And this is one very interesting line that can happen. There are some games here. Now it looks like, okay, white is just losing a pawn, but white actually sacrifices a piece. King f8, because if you take, there's some kind of knight e5 check. And now there are different queen moves, but for example, queen c1 is one idea. And the black king is in for storm. Objectively, this is, as I understand, is a draw, but clearly both sides have winning chances. I would say white has more. So something like this should have happened, but instead it felt like white didn't even try. Oh, he just, okay, he's like arrives here and he says, okay, let's just put my knight somewhere, you know, d2, okay, good enough, why not? And yeah, I mean that kind of level of thinking is fine at 2000, but 2400, yeah, it's not enough. And knight c4 also maybe not great. Maybe at least develop the last minor piece. But I mean, knight c4 happened, and black is just very comfortable. And yeah, he just has the bishop pair, and you know, his rook can easily be very active. F2 is a target, so if white castles, then he has to worry about the F2 pawn. And here black could already think about playing b5 and just bishop e8, play this passive move, but it's good enough, it defends everything. And you know, he can slowly make more progress on the queen side. And because of this, white should have done something about this idea, either a4 or b4. But both sides missed this opportunity for a few moves. And here was the last moment to stop this b5 idea. And finally black plays b5, just bishop e8. And yeah, I mean, the knight on e5 looks slightly active, but it's not really doing anything. There are no targets to attack. And white is just playing passively. And rook b6 was played. Because black is thinking that, okay, if I play, let's say b4, like this, and even if I win the pawn, how do I win the game? It's just 4 against 3 on the king side, and I even have double pawns, so winning might be very difficult. So black is trying to find some other way to make progress, and he finds one way is to put the bishop here, just try to annoy white a little bit, and white deals with this with knight f4. It is one option, and black just takes. And now black is hoping that, okay, if I manage to trade these 2 pawns for these 3 pawns, and now that f4 is weak, if I win that too, then I can finally win the game. And so yeah, he starts with b4, and Tero plays rook d8, and this one I just cannot explain this move. It's just so stupid. Like, I just don't like who plays like this. It feels like white is suddenly playing for a win, because he wants to keep as many pawns as possible. But obviously you cannot play for win, you should play for draw. And in that case you should of course first take and then play the move you wanted, rook d8. So you have less pawns to worry about. I mean, this should be obvious to anyone. But yeah, instead rook d8 was played, and black just took and took on c3. And if white takes on e8, then the pawn is just promoting because bishop e4 is impossible. So white has to take back, and king e7 and a4, and now you see the problem. Why do we have this? Why do we have to worry about these pawns? Why didn't we just take on b4 first? With either pawn, really. Like, if the same thing happens. Okay, we just take back. And now it's clear. It's just so much easier to defend. So actually here, it seemed like the best move was the surprising rook b8. And maybe the easiest way to play for draw is rook d4, because losing f4 is just you just shouldn't allow it. It's more important than c3. And at least after a quick glance, I can't find an easy way for black to make progress here. The black king is so well cut off. It cannot help with the attack of the f4 pawn. Anyway, the rook d8 mistake was played, and now white is really suffering. And he just has... There's just no plans. No plans whatsoever. Bishop d1 is impossible because of the pin. And but yeah, at least there's bishop h5, some kind of counterplay. But the rook is cut off, and black just takes. And the only hope white has is the h7 pawn. If he can win that, maybe he can promote. But here, if white plays bishop g8, black has just play h6. And if white plays h6, black can just win that pawn immediately. So white stops rook h3, and now he's planning to play h6 and bishop g8. But yeah, there are some different ways to deal with this. Maybe the simplest one is just to play h6 yourself. Now the bishop cannot attack it. The only way to lose the pawn is with the white rook somehow, but that takes a lot of time, and in the meantime black should be able to promote his pawn. The white king is completely paralyzed. You can see all these squares are taken, so white king cannot do anything. Instead, black played for a more active option, but this also gives some counterplay for the opponent. So it's more risky, but it can win faster. So now the king is up. This is like a double-edged sword. On the other hand, the king helps to attack some black pawns. but it's also away from the promotions. Like here, you could just promote very easily because the king is away. So once again, this is like a, if it works, you win faster. If it doesn't, you look like a fool. But yeah, I mean, black is up 3 pawns, so you should be able to win quite easily. Bishop h5. There are different ways black can win, but black chose rook g8. I mean, it's very natural. Put the rook behind the best pawn, and now it should be easy. But there are some tricks left. And this is where it all began. Bishop d7 was played here. Seems this was a slight inaccuracy. That bishop d5 was better. For example, one line would be h7, a3, bishop e8, a2. So this will promote with check. And yeah, what can white do if it checks? We can put our king here. White can stop the promotion, but black will just take the bishop. And he will definitely be able to promote one of these 3 pawns. And most likely at least 2. And the problem with bishop d7 that if you play the same line, bishop e8, so cutting off the rook, a2, the difference is that white wins a piece. This is the difference. This is the big difference. And the black king is too far away, so white can play rook a1 and rook a2. And this seems to be a draw. So after h7, black played rook h8, so he had to slow down a little bit. Bishop g4. And now black has to be precise. And he had less than 3 minutes left. And he just miscalculated. He missed something simple. And wasn't able to win. And yeah, he played f3. It looks like it's winning, but unfortunately it fails. The right move was a3, and there's not much white can do except take on e6 and takes, and now black has only one move to win the game, and that is with king d5. Not too complicated, just making some contact to the rook. So if white plays king g7, black can just take and take on e6. And if white plays rook a6, we can just take on h7, rook a3, and black king is too active. And black just wins. But f3 was played instead, and yeah, something simple was missed. White just took a3, and now it looks like black is just easily winning. But surprise, surprise, white just goes back. And suddenly, to his horror, he realizes, oh man, there's nothing I can do. If I move the bishop somewhere, rook a7. So a2 is forced. but now White can sacrifice his rook. And just in time, he gets the last pawn. So a miraculous save from Tero. must have been so painful. Like, Gudmundur is just better for the whole game. Just grinding, grinding, grinding. He's winning, and then he just misses something simple in time trouble, and then the win is gone. But at least, at least he didn't lose, like Samsa's opponent. But yeah, the game still continued. They played for the whole money, and White just went immediately to this basic defense. I think a lot of strong players, they don't immediately go for the corner. They wait outside. But yeah, you can definitely go here. This is more frustrating for the opponent, that you just immediately go to the corner. You don't even try to stay on the side. And there's nothing black can do as long as you go to the right corner. And we can just quickly glance. There's just absolutely nothing black can do. Just go to the corner. And now we see the basic problem black has. If he waits, it's stalemate, no matter what. So he has to move away, and then the bishop moves away. And then there's always the check, there's always some kind of check. So black can never checkmate. There's maybe like one position where it's possible to lose, but if you're a bit careful with white, it just won't happen. I think it's like, so here, if rook goes here, attacking the bishop, training checkmate, white can just check, and there's nothing. But if the bishop was on f5, I think rook here wins. Just threaten the bishop and threaten checkmate. And I think that's the only way. That's the only position black can win. If you just avoid that, you're fine. And yeah, finally it's a draw. So yeah, good round for us. We won 2.5. And yeah, some good games. Akopov's game was good. Nusti played well, and Tero fought back. You know, he didn't give up, even though, yeah, I can't say he played brilliantly, but he fought. He found some ideas to at least make it complicated, and that was enough for a draw. So yeah, good job, and yeah, on to the next round. I think in the future I won't analyze all the games in such detail. It just takes too much time. Maybe I will just analyze one game, or maybe just some glances of all the games. Not sure, but definitely not so much. It's just too much to handle. But yeah, thank you for watching, and see you later.